When you think of the mafia, you probably think guns, right? Maybe drugs? But their real financial superpower? It was something way more common. For almost 100 years, their entire empire was built on our love of taking a chance. We're going to dive into how organized crime turned simple gambling into its most reliable, most profitable enterprise. I mean, really think about that for a second. While all the other stuff, the hits, the heists, was grabbing the headlines, gambling was this silent, massive river of cash just flowing underneath it all. It wasn't just some side hustle, no way. This was the engine. It's what funded everything else. Lavish lifestyles, other, more violent crimes, you name it. It was the fuel for the entire underworld machine. So, the big question is, how'd they pull it off? How does a criminal organization build a whole empire on something as random and unpredictable as luck? Well, here's the secret. They made damn sure luck had almost nothing to do with it. Okay, so let's set the scene. Before the mob really stepped in, gambling was just chaotic. You had your backroom games, your local illegal bookies. It was all over the place. The mob didn't invent gambling. What they did, and this was genius, was see an opportunity to organize it, to control it, and to perfect it for their own profit. And you have to admit, the strategy was just brilliant. I mean, think about it from their perspective. Compared to, say, murder, the legal risk for running a little numbers game was super low, but the profits? Through the roof. And the most important part, the absolute key, was that it generated this endless river of untraceable cash. That cash was the lifeblood. It's what they used to bribe cops and politicians, to fund all their other crimes, and to build real power right in the heart of their own communities. And here's how they pulled people in. See, a simple bet was never just a bet. It was a perfect trap. So let's say you place a bet, and you lose. You can't pay up. Well, no problem. Your friendly neighborhood loan shark offers you a high-interest loan. And just like that, you're not a customer anymore. You're an asset. Now you're on the hook, maybe forced to give them information or even help them out with a job, all from one bad bet. So where did it all start? Their first truly massive enterprise was so simple. We're talking long before state lotteries were even a thing. The Mafia was already running their own version, and it was an absolute goldmine, operating right out in the open in neighborhoods all across America. The genius of it was just how simple it was. People would bet pennies, literally pennies, on a 3-digit number. That's it. It was easy for anyone to play. It felt like a local thing, not some big, scary operation. And for folks in poorer neighborhoods, it offered this little flicker of hope for a big payday. From Harlem all the way to Chicago, this super simple game became a foundation of mob money. Now, you might be thinking, pennies? How much could they really make? Well, each bet was tiny, sure, but you have to imagine thousands, tens of thousands of people playing every single day. The sheer volume was staggering. It created this massive, completely tax-free river of cash that flowed straight into the pockets of the mob bosses. Okay, so they're making a killing on these street-level numbers games. What's next? Well, this is where the mob makes its most audacious move yet. They look out at a barren, empty patch of Nevada desert, and they see a cathedral. A cathedral dedicated to gambling. A place they could build from the ground up, that they could own, and that they could bleed completely dry. This, right here, is the story of how the mob basically invented Las Vegas. It all kicks off in 1946. Bugsy Siegel has this vision, and he opens the Flamingo Hotel. For the next 3 decades, the mob pretty much was the Las Vegas Strip. They ran the show. But you know, every party has to end, and for them, things started winding down in the 70s when a huge new player entered the game, the federal government. And right behind them, corporate America. But here's the thing. Just owning the casinos, that was only step one. The real genius, the secret sauce to their incredible wealth, was a little something called the skim. It was this beautifully simple, systematic way to steal millions upon millions of dollars before the government even knew that money existed. So, you want to know how the magic trick worked? It's actually pretty straightforward. Picture this. All the cash from the casino floor goes to the counting room. Now, before the official count for the IRS happens, mob insiders in the room would literally just take stacks of cash right off the top. Skim it. This was pure, untaxed, untraceable money. It got packed into suitcases and sent off to the bosses back home. Chicago, Kansas City, New York, you name it.
And I want to be clear here, we're not talking about pocket change. We're talking millions, millions of dollars every single year from just one casino. Now, multiply that by the 5, 6, 7 casinos the mob had its hooks into, and yeah, you start to get a sense of the mind-boggling scale of this whole thing.
But like I said, the party couldn't last forever. An empire built on pure theft is bound to crumble. And by the 1970s, the federal government had just had enough. They decided to launch an all-out war on organized crime, and ground zero for that war was Las Vegas. So, what was the government's secret weapon? It was a new law called the RICO Act, and this was a total game changer. See, before RICO, prosecutors could only go after one mobster for one crime at a time. It was slow and inefficient. But RICO let them target the entire organization, the whole family, for being a racketeering, influenced, and corrupt organization. It let them connect the dots, from the low-level bookie on the street corner all the way up to the boss getting a suitcase of skimmed cash from Vegas.
And the results of all this pressure? A complete and total transformation of Las Vegas. The old era of shady, hidden mob ownership and skimmed profits? It was over. It gave way to massive corporate control, publicly traded companies, and revenues that were audited like crazy. The old mob Vegas was officially gone.
But you didn't think the mob would just fold its hand and walk away, did you? Of course not. They didn't get out of the gambling business. They're way too smart for that. They just adapted. They moved away from the bright lights of Vegas and went back into the shadows, where they've always been comfortable.
So, the game today looks totally different. Those old-school numbers rackets and backroom bookies, they've evolved. Now it's all about anonymous offshore websites, betting with crypto, and these super high-stakes underground poker games. It all caters to the same kind of customer, someone who wants to stay completely off the grid.
You know, it's kind of crazy. Even with legal sports betting popping up everywhere, the illegal market is still absolutely booming. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's because the illegal bookies still offers things the legal apps can't. They give you credit, for one. They offer total privacy. There are no tax forms to worry about. And there are no limits on how much you can bet. For a certain kind of high roller, that's an offer they just can't refuse. So, from the back alleys of New York to the glittering palaces in the desert, and now to the darkest corners of the internet, one lesson has always remained true. The house always wins. And that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. The mob's old empire may be gone, but the game itself is bigger than ever. So it really makes you wonder, right? In our world, with giant corporate casinos, state-run lotteries, and betting apps on every phone, who exactly is the house today?